A really important thing that I want to make sure everyone's aware of is that being evidence-based is central to everything that we do at Expert. And the reason for that is that we're very, very aware that science is always progressing. So as much as we might not always see massive leaps forward, there's always new research, and that always informs how we might be able to best help the people that we're trying to help. We're also aware that practice is always evolving, so we know that the way people live their lives, the way the practitioners in the room are dealing with their patients is changing on an almost weekly basis with new technology available. So I think the image here actually demonstrates it quite nicely. We really are in a digital age. To this point, that's probably had a detrimental impact on our health to the most part, but when Matt introduces the Digital Expert Health Programme, which is upcoming, hopefully that's just one more step along the way to starting to use this technology for a positive impact rather than the negative one it probably has had so far. And the other thing is that we can always do better. So hopefully you'll agree from the results of individuals and individual organisations, as well as the expert report as a whole, we are helping to make a difference to a lot of people. But it would be arrogant to suggest we can't do more. And so we're always looking for ways to improve what we're doing, have a bigger and better impact. And the way we're doing that is on the next slide. If it moves on to the next slide. Broke it. So the first thing we do is we're continuously appraising the evidence, and that won't be a surprise if people know it. So we've got a team of researchers back at Export headquarters. We've got a range of different skills and experiences and backgrounds, but what that enables us to do is spend some time appraising recent evidence, deciding how that might impact what we're saying. I know for a lot of you in the room who are working with patients, you have no time to do that whatsoever. Even for those who might have a bit of time, most of you probably won't have had any formal training in doing that. So hopefully you all trust that we're doing a good enough job, that the product we give you is evidence-based and is going to help to address the things you're not able to do as part of your day-to-day work. The outcomes are always going to have an impact on how we're developing the programme, so we continuously appraise those to see if there's areas we aren't having as big an impact as we could do. Participant feedback is obviously very, very important. So as well as trying to make sure the programmes are evidence-based, it's also important we make sure that people are understanding those messages. So as well as taking into account the evidence from the participants, the evidence, the feedback coming from you guys is also essential. So we need a constant stream coming back from you, the people who are delivering this out in the real world. What's working, what isn't, what can we do better? So please don't hesitate to tell us when we're doing something wrong. Hopefully when we put that all together, we get the best evidence-based approach where the information is correct and it's helping the people who need it when they need it. We balance that up, so I'm sure there'll be people who've been doing an expert for a while. You know, there's been times where we'll make a change and it completely affects how you need to develop a programme. We don't do it deliberately, I promise. We try to balance up the importance of new information with how that's going to practically affect you to try and make sure it's a smooth transition and it works out in the right way, and then we make the changes. So in terms of the specific things that have gone on and that are going on this year, one of the big ones I'm sure you'll all be aware of is on the back of the Diabetes UK funded direct trial. So the use of very low energy diets has given us some really strong evidence that it is possible to put type 2 diabetes into remission. I've been an expert for 3 years, and if I'd have said that when I first started, there would have been a lot of people in the room who wouldn't have believed me. That's how quickly this has come on. So in previous versions of the programme the last couple of years, we've been appraising the evidence, but we've been waiting to see some slightly longer term results before we are committed to supporting that. We want to know that this is safe and effective in the long term. And as far as research goes, 2 years is about as long as you get in any good quality research. So now we are very much supportive of a very low energy diet for people who want to try that. So we're trying to build it into our practice, trying to build resources that can help people experiment with that in a safe way. The reality is, the whole world's available with this now, so people are going to get their information from somewhere. Hopefully what we're able to do is make sure people get good quality information so they can do it in a safe way, rather than putting it in Google, trying something in a way that is dangerous, that isn't sustainable. It isn't, however, replacing our overall ethos. which is to make sure people adopt dietary approaches that they can stick to long term to see meaningful and sustained improvements in their health. But we are trying to continue to support people to use this as a short-term option, see those rapid changes, and then transfer onto the real food approaches that can hopefully help them maintain those. Some of you might be aware we have a position statement which outlines that, so that's available on our website. If anyone has seen that, has any questions, then do let us know. The main way we're trying to provide the information needed in the first instance is through a mini handbook. So it's a 20-page handbook that's coming soon that either people will be able to buy from our website or organisations who are offering expert on licence will be able to have as an optional add-on to their programme. That outlines the steps that people would need to go through to do it, the options they have to do that, whether it's with meal replacement products or using real food, and the safety considerations they need to take into account. So please do keep an eye out for that if this is something you might be interested in. We've also got a partnership with the Fast 800 coming up. So this is Michael Mosley, who's already been mentioned once today. Michael Mosley and his team have got an online programme to help people who want to adopt a very low energy diet. The reason we're partnering them is they have a system that is already set up to provide people with the continuous support throughout that phase that at the moment doesn't fit in with our day-to-day working. So it's about making sure people get all the information they need. And with the Fast 800, it's an organisation whose methods and messages are very much in line with what we're offering. So we're very happy to be working with them. We've also increased the coverage of the psychology of eating. So at the moment, we're very, very good at understanding the physiology of type 2 diabetes, why people have got difficulty in managing their blood glucose levels. We've also, for a lot of people, got quite a good understanding of the direct cause of that, which is involving ultra-processed foods. But there's no point in us understanding the importance of what people eat if we can't help to address why people are eating it. So this infographic here is part of a shameless plug. So the Wheatley and Whisker at the bottom is myself and Matthew at the back. So please do take some time to find out this article. It provides some practical tips and advice. But we've got that same information applied in our programme. So it's getting people to consider when you are eating, why are you eating? What is the reason you're eating this food? Are you really hungry? Or is it because of boredom? Is it because of a habit? Is it in response to stress? These are the things that we really, really need to focus on going forward, because it's only by addressing these things we're going to help people make sustainable choices. After they've addressed those, we can focus on the types of foods which will allow people's body to start working properly again. But the psychology actually has to come first. So we can highlight the possible options, help people find them, but as always with Expert, there's a focus on one size doesn't fit all. This is going to be very different for different people. So it's helping them find their own journey. Another area that's very, very important, unfortunately it's not something that can be covered in the detail it requires within an expert programme. We only have 6 weeks and we can't cover all the things that are important. But it is absolutely essential that people feel supported and comfortable in having conversations around their emotional and psychological well-being. I'm sure there'll be people in this room who either have or know people who have suffered with issues of this nature. They are issues that are more likely in people with long-term health conditions. So it's about time that actually, as a culture, we are comfortable talking about that to help people identify it as an issue and to help people find the support they need. So this is a page that's taken directly from the handbook. It's something that we're trying to promote and then trying to get people to get the specialist help they need in addition to attending the programme. Not too bad. Other things we've added into the handbook to support content that's always been there is some practical hints and tips. So a lot of nutrition guidelines from the likes of Diabetes UK are starting to focus more on foods rather than nutrients. There's no point in telling people have X percentage from carbs, X percentage from fat. We need to actually put this in messages that work for people in the real world. So what we've provided are some pages. It's not an exact science, but it gives a gist of some foods that might make up someone's new dietary approach and some foods that might be best avoided, just to try and give people a better start point. So more practical tips coming in. Intermittent fasting as well. So with intermittent fasting, again, this is something that was particularly controversial a few years ago. Some people probably still don't agree with it, but actually it's becoming more and more accepted. And part of that is because there's a lot more evidence coming out that supports it. So one of the ways through which it can be beneficial is it can actually help people eat less, which fits into the traditional messages around trying to actually reduce energy intake. But there's also some really interesting evidence that shows the benefits go beyond the amount people are eating. So in studies like the one I've just taken as an example here, whether they were eating throughout the whole day or whether they had some kind of restrictions when they're eating, they ate the exact same foods, but the outcomes were different. So what that goes to show is that when you're eating actually can have an important impact as well as what you're eating. And that's another thing we need to start introducing people to help them find choices that work for them. The other thing that means it's very important we cover it is the popularity of it. So a lot of people have heard of it. Some of that goes back to Michael Mosley, who's obviously an advocate of it. A lot of people have heard of 5-2 approaches. Like the very low energy diets, people are going to be seeing it and they're going to be talking about it. So any way that we can try and moderate the information they're getting to make sure it is evidence-based is important. So we need to make sure people can make an informed choice to decide if it is right for them. It's essential that they've got the information to make sure they can do it safely, particularly important for people on certain medications. And it's also very important that we can help them do it in a way that's going to work for them, because the overall outcome we're looking for is people to achieve that. Very quickly, there's a few more things that have been added to the handbook, so I would recommend everyone has a look through the copy that we've given you in your delegate packs. We've added more to help people when they're dining out. As we all know, when we go out for a meal, it can be very difficult to not make what would be considered less good choices. We've added more of stress and sleep, so again, it's another area we're recognising that this can have a really important impact on people's health. They could be active, they can get their diet right, but if they don't consider the other areas of their lifestyle, they're still going to struggle to see the improvements they want. We've added a section on the gut microbiota. So, again, I don't have time to talk about it, I'd love to talk about it all day. Read the section, ask me any questions if you've got them later. And we've also added some more recipes and meal plans. So again, trying to get people to take the information we've given them to translate into their real world lives. We've also got more on our online forum. So another shameless plug, please take a look at the online forum, see the resources available. It's about trying to give people continued support beyond what we can give them face-to-face in the programs. So as I've already mentioned a couple of times, you've all got a super exclusive preprint version of version 14 of the handbook. So in our sessions, we're still using version 13. This will be coming soon. Please enjoy. You're all very important people, obviously, so please enjoy your pre-release version. Very, very quickly, for those who are in the room, there are logistical updates we're trying to make your life easier, as well as the content updates. So one example of which is our insulin program. In some organisations, delivery is split between a dietitian and a nurse. The dietitians in the room will recognise the picture of the young lady holding the apple, because that's the stock picture you always get for a dietitian, and I'm sure it's how you walk out days. We've split it to try and make it more logistically simple, so one person can deliver the whole programme, or if people do want to split it, some sessions are geared up for the dietitians and some for the nurses. We've also tried to make some improvements to our audit database. So all of those awards and the reports that will be made available at lunch aren't possible if people don't put data into our audit database. That's a time-intensive thing, we're aware of that. It's something that people don't have a lot of time for. So we're exploring ways that either data can be uploaded from an Excel spreadsheet, so people don't actually have to enter it in more than one place. And hopefully we're moving towards a system where our database will be able to communicate with GP systems for us to see that data and see if our program's working automatically. That's the way things are going, and it's the way things need to go. I've overrun, I'm sorry. One extra thing on the audit database is we've now added individual reports as a possibility. So those of you familiar with Dr. David Unwin's work and Andy's graph earlier, you'll all be familiar with how uplifting and empowering those graphs that show individual change can be. So as well as being able to run a report for your entire organisation, you will be able to run a report for an individual person, which you can give them and give them a clear and easy to understand example of how they've improved their own health. And it's those little things that can help motivate someone to stick to the changes they've made. I won't say any more on Expert Digital because Matt's supposed to be talking about it now, but he will be in a minute. Last one quickly is we've got projects in Bermuda, Australia, Texas and Abu Dhabi all upcoming. So Bermuda are going to be delivering the expert diabetes and insulin programs. In Abu Dhabi, there's a pilot about to start delivering the expert weight program to children. In Texas, the expert weight program is being used as part of a trial with postpartum women. And in Australia, another very stereotypical picture there, we've got the expert weight programs already up and running and diabetes going out there. So expert is going global. We're also doing an appraisal of the program, which is being led by Northumbria University, and it's including staff members at Kirklees Council and Calderdale, and we're working with Stoke Council to try and pilot it in businesses in the area. So there's lots going on. Please ask us if you've got any questions about anything in particular. So thank you all very much. If you do have any questions,